So tell me how you would have handled this. I got an email from CNN last night, and they said, are you available before you do your radio show in the morning to come on CNN's New Day and to address a particular issue? This is the way that it usually works. Here's the subject that you'll be discussing. Never do they suggest what they want me to say. Never do they try and direct me in a particular direction. Instead, it's, in this case, Ken Burns, the noted historian and filmmaker, has said something provocative, and we're wondering what you think about it. Apparently, Ken Burns went on a podcast. He was on with, in fact, let me give them a plug. It's called Smartless. Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes. And he said he was asked a question about summing up, whether he was particularly cynical about the times in which we're living and how would he sum them up in comparison to things like the Civil War, the Depression, or World War II. And his comment, the comment from Ken Burns, was, it's really serious. There are three great crises before this, the Civil War, the Depression, and World War II. This is equal to it. And then he went on and he read a quote from Abraham Lincoln during a speech that Lincoln had delivered in 1838 to a group in Springfield, Illinois, where Lincoln said this: "From whence shall we expect the approach of danger? Shall some transatlantic military giant step the earth and crush us at a blow? Never. All the armies of Europe, Asia, and Africa could not by force take a drink from the Ohio River or make a track on the Blue Ridge in the trial of 1,000 years. No, if destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher as a nation of free men. We will live forever or die by suicide." And then Ken Burns added that he thinks we're looking down the muzzle of that gun right now. So I'm asked, what do you think of this? And I went on and I did the TV appearance this morning on CNN, and you can access it. I think it was something that Breonna Keeler tweeted and then I retweeted. But I made notes for myself. I'm not sure how much I was able to get off my chest. And in this sort of expanded and more relaxed YouTube environment, I wanted to tell you how I would answer that question. Do I equate the times in which we're living with the Civil War, the Depression, World War II? I can't match Ken Burns' historical analysis. I mean, this is a guy who has written a boatload of best-selling books, most notably about the Civil War. But I can say this. I've been paying close attention for the last 3 decades. For the last 30 years, I have been a close observer of our political climate. And never before now have I had concern about the stability of our country. I've grown up cutting my teeth politically, worrying about things like unemployment and Social Security and, okay, maybe the Cold War up until Gorbachev came along. What's changed for me is that today's crises seem existential. The crisis of fighting among ourselves, the crisis of climate change, the crisis of the pandemic, the crisis, and I think that it is one because it's symptomatic of really deep division among us, income inequality. Today, we can't even have conversations about these things without it becoming so vitriolic. And the question is, why? I mean, it used to be that we would unite. We were like a couple having a domestic dispute, that if we'd fight among ourselves, but if there were an outsider, then we were quickly in unison against that exterior force. We used to be like that, in that we would unify against a common enemy, and whatever rancor, whatever division existed in the United States, it ended at the water's edge. Those days are over. And whether symptom or root of the problem, when I think about why that's the case, I think of a couple of different factors. I think about how truth has become elastic. We can't even agree on basic facts anymore. What example would I give? Vaccinations. Like we can't even agree with the science in this country that we'd all be best served if we were all vaccinated and we would more quickly get to the end of this pandemic. Another factor that I see is diminished confidence in our institutions, diminished confidence in government generally, in police, in the military, and certainly in the media. And when it comes to the media, rancor works in the media. Sowing division is bad for the country, but it's a great business model. And then you add in the accelerant of technology, because technology has made the spreading of misinformation much too easy. It's human nature. We've always been subject to or susceptible to the spreading of rumor and innuendo. There's an adage out there, I can't remember what it is, about how a rumor quickly gets across town and truth struggles to catch up. That's always the way that it's been, but now with social media and technology, it's just like boom. And I also have to say that I don't think this is all about Trump or all about January 6th. You got to delve deeper. What are the factors that gave rise to Donald Trump in the United States? And what's driving the discontent? That's what I want to say. What's driving the anger and hostility that would have caused those individuals to break into the Capitol on January the 6th? I don't have a problem with them being there in protest of what they perceived was a fraudulent election. It wasn't. I don't have a problem, though, with them being there and making their argument. But, when they cross the threshold of the Capitol, then we're in a whole different realm. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And the misinformation is preying upon the people who believe they've been forgotten. Forgotten because they no longer have the jobs that they had. They no longer have the aspirations that they once held. In a world that is flat, technology is taking their jobs and they're not coming back, and the demographics of the country are changing at the same time. All of these things are creating the tinder. They're creating the tinder for the conflagration that I fear we are now facing. It's not going to change until, you've heard me say this before, but I'm nothing if not consistent, until we open our minds to different sources of information, get out of our silos, stop self-sorting, have more common interaction, and change our news diet. It changes when we begin changing the channel. Whatever channel you're watching, you got to change the channel. That's the first step. That is the first step. Do I agree with Ken Burns that we're currently in a crisis equal to the Civil War, Depression, or World War II? I don't know, because I didn't live through any of those eras. I only know that for my era, the last 30 years, I'm more concerned than I've ever been before. More concerned than I've ever been before. Share this video, like it, subscribe, all those kind of things, but post a comment that I can read so that I know how you're interpreting what I've just had to say. And thanks for watching.